Imagine being torn from your peaceful life of prayer and devotion, only to face a fate so terrible that death would seem like mercy. Today we're diving into one of history's darkest chapters, the systematic abuse and enslavement of Christian nuns by the Ottoman Empire. What happened to these women of faith was so horrific that many historians have struggled to document it fully. This isn't just another story about war or conquest. This is about the deliberate targeting of women who had dedicated their lives to God and how they were subjected to unimaginable cruelty. By the end of this video, you'll understand why many of these nuns prayed for death rather than continue living under Ottoman rule. But first, let me set the stage for you. The Ottoman Empire wasn't just any medieval power. It was a massive Islamic empire that controlled much of Southeast Europe, Western Asia, and North Africa for over 600 years. As they expanded their territory, they came into direct conflict with Christian communities across the Byzantine Empire and beyond. And when Ottoman forces conquered new territories, nuns became specific targets for reasons that will shock you. Let me start by explaining who these nuns were and why they became targets. Christian nuns in the Byzantine Empire lived in monasteries and convents, dedicating their lives to prayer, charity work, and serving their communities. They took vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, believing they were brides of Christ. These women came from all social classes. Some were daughters of nobles, others from merchant families, and many from common backgrounds. What made them particularly vulnerable was their isolation in remote monasteries and their vow of nonviolence. When Ottoman armies swept through Christian territories, these religious communities had no armies to protect them. The Ottomans had a specific military and social system that made the fate of captured nuns especially tragic. They operated under what they called the devshirme system and maintained a massive slave trade throughout their empire. But what they did to nuns went far beyond typical wartime captivity. Let me walk you through what actually happened during these conquests. When Ottoman forces captured a Christian city or region, they would systematically raid all religious buildings. Monasteries and convents were primary targets because they often contained valuable religious artifacts and treasures. But the nuns themselves were seen as valuable prizes for different reasons. First, many nuns came from wealthy families, making them potential sources of ransom money. Second, their religious education meant they were often literate, which was rare for women in that era. Third, and most disturbing, their vows of chastity made them particularly sought after in slave markets. The initial capture was just the beginning of their suffering. Ottoman soldiers would force nuns out of their convents at sword point. Often killing any who resisted. Elderly nuns who couldn't travel were frequently killed on the spot. The younger nuns were chained together and forced to march hundreds of miles to slave markets in major Ottoman cities. During these forced marches, many nuns died from exhaustion, disease, or starvation. Those who survived the journey faced an even worse fate. The slave markets of Constantinople, Bursa, and other Ottoman cities had specific sections for religious captives. Christian nuns commanded high prices because buyers believed their religious purity made them more valuable. Wealthy Ottoman officials, military commanders, and merchants would bid on these women like they were livestock. But here's where their suffering became truly unbearable. Many nuns were forced into the harems of Ottoman nobles, completely violating their religious vows and beliefs. For women who had dedicated their lives to celibacy and spiritual devotion, this was a form of psychological torture that many couldn't survive. Some nuns were sold to work in Ottoman households as domestic slaves. While this might sound better than being forced into harems, the reality was equally brutal. These women faced constant sexual harassment and abuse from their owners and other household members. Their Christian faith made them targets for additional cruelty, as some owners took pleasure in forcing them to participate in Islamic religious practices. The Ottomans also used captured nuns for psychological warfare against Christian populations. They would parade converted or enslaved nuns in front of Christian communities to break their morale. Some nuns were forced to publicly renounce Christianity or face torture and death. Others were made to write letters to their families describing their conversion to Islam, whether genuine or forced. Let me tell you about some specific historical accounts that showed just how systematic this cruelty was. During the fall of Constantinople in 1453, Sultan Mehmed II's forces specifically targeted the city's numerous convents. Historical records describe how nuns from the convent of Lips and other religious houses were dragged from their prayers and sold in slave markets within days. The Venetian merchant Niccolò Barbaro, who witnessed the siege, wrote about seeing nuns being loaded onto ships like cargo. He described how some nuns threw themselves from the ships, rather than face what awaited them. Similar scenes played out across the Balkans as Ottoman forces expanded into Serbia, Bulgaria, and other Christian territories. The monastery of Hilandar and dozens of other religious houses lost their entire populations of nuns to Ottoman slave raids. Many of these women were never seen again, sold far from their homelands to buyers across the Ottoman Empire. But the physical enslavement was only part of their torment. The Ottomans also engaged in deliberate psychological torture designed to break these women's religious faith. Captured nuns were often forced to watch the destruction of their monasteries and sacred relics. They were made to participate in the conversion of their convents into mosques or Islamic schools. Some were forced to help tear down crosses and Christian symbols with their own hands. The goal was to break their connection to Christianity before selling them into slavery. Ottoman records show that converted nuns were considered more valuable because they were seen as less likely to attempt escape or suicide. Many nuns developed severe mental illness from the trauma of their experiences. Historical accounts describe women who stopped speaking entirely, refused to eat, or engaged in self-harm. Some nuns managed to maintain secret Christian practices even in captivity, risking severe punishment if discovered. They would pray silently, make hidden crosses, or whisper Christian hymns when alone. Those caught practicing Christianity in secret faced additional torture, including beatings, starvation, or being locked in tiny cells for weeks. The few nuns who managed to escape, or were eventually freed, often struggled to reintegrate into Christian society. Many had been so traumatized that they could no longer function in normal religious communities. Some had children from their forced relationships, creating additional complications for their return to religious life. The psychological scars ran so deep that many former nuns never fully recovered their faith or mental health. What makes these accounts even more tragic is how common they were across centuries of Ottoman expansion. This wasn't isolated incidents during specific battles. It was a systematic pattern that repeated wherever Ottoman forces conquered Christian territories, from the Balkans to Armenia, from Crete to Cyprus. The same horrific cycle played out again and again. Christian nuns knew what awaited them if their territories fell to Ottoman forces, yet they often chose to remain at their posts rather than flee. Many saw their suffering as a test of faith or a way to share in the sufferings of Christ. Some historical accounts describe nuns who had advance warning of Ottoman attacks, but refused to abandon their monasteries and the local people who depended on them. The courage of these women in the face of known horror speaks to their incredible faith and dedication, but it also highlights just how systematic and widespread the Ottoman targeting of nuns had become. The slave trade that fed off these religious captives became a major economic engine for the Ottoman Empire. Specialized slave dealers developed networks specifically for trading captured religious figures. The profits were so substantial that some Ottoman military campaigns were planned specifically to capture valuable religious prisoners. This created a horrible incentive system where the suffering of Christian nuns became a source of wealth and political power. The international response to these atrocities was largely ineffective, as European Christian powers were often too divided or weak to intervene consistently. Some ransom efforts succeeded in freeing individual nuns, but the systematic nature of the problem continued for centuries. By the time the Ottoman Empire began to decline, countless thousands of Christian nuns had suffered and died in this system of religious persecution and sexual slavery. The fate of Christian nuns under Ottoman rule represents one of history's most systematic campaigns of religious persecution and sexual violence. These women, who had chosen lives of peace and devotion, became targets for unimaginable cruelty simply because of their faith. Their stories remind us how vulnerable religious minorities can become during times of conquest and war. Understanding this history helps us recognize similar patterns of persecution that continue in various forms today. The courage shown by these nuns in maintaining their faith under impossible circumstances stands as a testament to the power of human dignity. If this video opened your eyes to a part of history you hadn't heard before, please hit that like button to help others learn about it too. Share this video with anyone interested in religious history or human rights issues. And let me know in the comments what other historical topics you'd like me to cover in future videos. Remember to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our upcoming videos on forgotten chapters of world history. These stories need to be told, and your support helps ensure they reach the people who need to hear them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.